Hey y'all, my name is Caitlin, and today I'm going to be giving you a little rundown on climate change, specifically global warming, so hopefully you can get a better understanding of why it's so important. And then I'm going to go into reasons as to why it is important and how it affects us, and then I'm going to give you some ways that you can go about your everyday life to make small changes to help reduce your CO2 footprint. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So basically there's a lot of really complicated science that goes into understanding global warming and climate change. But the biggest problem we're having right now with climate change is global warming. So global warming has been something that we've been experiencing throughout history, but the rate that we are experiencing global warming has increasingly rised since the Industrial Revolution, and that's because we as humans have started burning fossil fuels, and CO2 is a warming gas that's created after you burn fossil fuels. So CO2 goes in the atmosphere and it traps heat. So this is where the greenhouse effect is immensified. So basically the greenhouse effect is the radiative balance between incoming solar radiation and the absorption of re-emitted infrared radiation in the atmosphere. That's a mouthful. But basically, so CO2 is in the atmosphere, is trapping heat. And then methane is another big one that's in the atmosphere trapping heat. And methane, you might not hear about it as much, but if you hear about cow farts being bad, that's because cows produce so much methane, and methane is 70 to 100 times more warming than CO2, and that percentage depends on how long it's in the atmosphere. So basically these two are up in the ozone layer, and so the ozone layer isn't able to do its job, and the ozone layer is what is our main defense against the sun and its heat and its UV rays. So the sun is shining, okay, the ozone layer isn't really able to do its job as well, so more heat can go into the surface, and then our surface absorbs that heat, the ocean absorbs that heat, the ice caps in the ocean are able to reflect that heat. So that's one reason why those are so important for us, because it helps send some of that heat and radiation back into the atmosphere. So as of right now, in the 20th century, we're predicted to rise 1 to 4 degrees Celsius globally. And so that doesn't sound like a lot, but when it's on a global scale, it really is. And maybe you walk outside and you're like, oh, it's a couple degrees warmer, or oh, we had the coldest winter, like that global warming isn't real. But where they mostly experience it is closer to the equator, because that's where they're getting that direct hit from the sun. But there are some ways that global warming is really going to affect us. First off, those rising temperatures like I was talking about. Second off, it's going to affect our crops and our plants, because we're going to have frost-free seasons. And the reason that's so bad is because it's going to affect what we can grow, where we can grow, and when we can grow it, because plants are very sensitive and they need frost to help indicate to them when they need to start growing and when they need to be dormant. So there's two right there. We're going to have changes in precipitation patterns, more drought and heat waves. We're going to have stronger, more intensive hurricanes, rising sea levels, and possibly an ice-free Arctic. But that, and in combination with other regional effects, are all going to hurt us in the end if we don't help to slow down climate change. So there are some things that you can do in your everyday life that are pretty simple to help reduce your carbon footprint. Number one, we're gonna eat less meat and dairy. So I know you love your milk and I know you love your hamburgers, but if you reduce that, you're gonna help the planet a lot, because as of right now, 14.5% of all man-made warming gases come from animal agriculture, so meat and dairy farming. And that might not sound like a lot, but that's more than the entire transportation industry combined. So when you look at it on that scale, okay, me eating this hamburger is worse for me and is worse for the environment than driving a car. Maybe you should look into, I don't know, Meatless Mondays. So there's that one. Number two, buy secondhand clothing and avoid fast fashion. So fast fashion is things like Forever 21, Romwe, Zaful. If you're a girl, you really know what I'm talking about. But basically, That's clothes that are made super cheap with the intent of you wearing them 2 times and throwing them away, rather than spending a little bit more money on a shirt that you're gonna wear 100 times or 50 times, or until it has a hole in it. Because as of right now, the average American throws away about 80 pounds of clothing a year, and 85% of that will end up in a landfill. So, and then number 3, you're gonna watch your energy and water usage. So in your house, maybe just change your light bulbs to more energy efficient ones, or turn the lights off when you leave the room, or even just washing your clothes in cold water instead of boiling hot water. You're gonna help reduce your energy and reduce your carbon footprint. So I was able to go over climate change a little bit and global warming. I was able to give you some reasons as to why it's going to hurt us in the end, and some ways that you can go about bettering yourself and the environment. And again, I'm going to put links to the bottom of this video if you want to click on them and maybe do a little bit more research on your own, maybe look into some things that I wasn't able to explain good enough for you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.